The night was quiet, too quiet for a planet that never really slept. Cities glowed with their usual lights, highways hummed with cars, and people scrolled through their phones without a care. Then, at exactly the same second, something strange happened. Every screen on Earth, phones, TVs, billboards, even the giant displays in Times Square, suddenly flickered and went black. People thought it was a glitch, but then the darkness turned into a single image. A tall figure appeared, silver-skinned, with eyes that glowed an eerie blue. His face was calm to calm. He spoke in perfect English, his voice deep and steady. "We come with an offer, protection, but only if you agree now." Some people gasped, others laughed. "Protection from what?" someone shouted in a bar. The figure didn't answer that question. Instead, he leaned forward slightly, his eyes seeming to look directly into the souls of those watching. "Danger approaches? You cannot fight it alone. Accept our guardianship or perish." And then the image changed, above the Pacific Ocean. The clouds shifted, and a massive object appeared in low orbit. It wasn't like any spacecraft humans had imagined. It didn't have metal plates or rocket thrusters. It looked alive. Its surface shifted and rippled, like the skin of some giant creature. Cities along the coast stopped what they were doing. Thousands pointed their phones upward. The ship floated silently, blocking the stars, casting a shadow. That stretched across the ocean. Governments scrambled. Command centers lit up with activity. Scientists tried to trace the signal, but the transmission didn't come from Earth. It came from somewhere deep inside that alien ship. In the Pentagon. Generals shouted orders, demanding satellite views. In Beijing, in Moscow, in London, leaders demanded to know if this was a threat or a joke. But no one had answers. The silver-skinned figure reappeared on the screens. His voice was calm, almost too calm.
Ow.
"You do not have much time." Around the world, people argued about what was happening. News commentators speculated. Some called it the greatest discovery in history. Others called it a trick, maybe even an advanced cyber attic. Few believed it was just an elaborate movie marketing stunt. After all, who just shows up and says protection without explaining anything? Popular comedian tweeted, "Sure, Mr. Space Guardian. Let me just sign this invisible contract with my invisible pen." The tweet went viral in minutes. Memes flooded social media. One showed the alien holding a free hug sign. Another pictured him asking for Wi-Fi password in exchange for protection. For many, it was entertainment. For others, it was terrifying, in a military base. Somewhere in Nevada, a general leaned over a table covered in satellite images. "This thing, it's big enough to wipe us out if it wanted, so why talk first?" No one in the room had an answer. On the other side of the world, in a dimly lit observatory, a young astronomer stared at a strange blip on his screen. It was faint, moving fast through space, and headed in the general direction of Earth. It wasn't on any official asteroid lists. He frowned and began calculating its trajectory. Hours passed, but the alien ship didn't move, just hovered, silently, as if waiting. Then, at sunrise, the figure appeared once again, on every screen. This time, his tone carried a sharp edge. "Your world is not ready. But the danger will not wait for you to be ready. Accept now, or we will leave." His eyes seemed to glow brighter for a moment before the image vanished. The signal ended abruptly, leaving billions staring at blank screens. The silence after, the message was heavier than before. Even the loudest cities seemed to pause. Somewhere in Tokyo, a news anchor asked the question everyone was thinking. If this is real, what exactly are we agreeing to? And why now? In Paris, a scientist muttered, "They're scared. That's why they're here. Not for us, but because of whatever's coming." Meanwhile, on a quiet street in New York, a boy tugged on his father's coat and pointed at the sky.
Us.
The father followed his gaze and froze. There, just above the horizon, the alien ship was visible with the naked eye. Dark rippling shadow against the morning light. It moved slightly, as though breathing. People gathered on rooftops and balconies, staring up at it in uneasy silence. Back. In the Pentagon, the general slammed his fist on the table. We can't just say yes without knowing what they want in return. But deep down, even he felt the creeping weight of the aliens' warning. Somewhere far beyond Earth, something was moving toward them, something that made even these powerful strangers offer protection. When the alien's voice echoed one last time that night, "Time is almost over," the world was still laughing, but not quite as loudly as before. The laughter had cracks in it now, cracks where fear had begun to seep through. The signal cut off again, and the ship above the Pacific stayed still, watching. And for the first time in a long time, Earth felt very, very small, all through the night. The alien ship stayed in the same place, hovering above the Pacific like a dark, living island in the sky. The world didn't sleep. Governments called emergency meetings. Scientists stayed glued to their screens, and news channels replayed the aliens' words again and again. Protection. But only if you agree now. Questions only grew. Protection from what? Why us? And why now? No one had answers, only guesses, in a small control room deep underground. A team of astronomers huddled over their monitors. One of them, Dr. Laura Kim, zoomed in on a strange reading from the edge of the solar system. It was faint, almost hidden by the background of space, but it was moving far too fast for an asteroid. "It's big," she whispered. "Bigger than anything I've tracked before," another scientist frowned. "If it's coming this way, we have months, maybe less." No one wanted to say it out loud. The thought was there. Whatever was coming might be the danger the alien had warned about. Up above, the alien ship didn't respond to calls from Earth. Dozens of radio signals, laser messages, and encrypted transmissions were sent, but nothing came back. The silver-skinned figure had vanished from the screens, leaving only that silent, pulsing shape in the sky. Yet, the silence didn't feel peaceful. It felt like the pause before a storm. On social media, the debate raged on. Some people insisted it was a hoax, maybe an advanced drone built by a secret project. Others claimed the ship had been here for days, watching from high orbit before revealing itself. Conspiracy theories flourished. Popular videos showed blurry footage of the ship changing shape, as if its surface was liquid. Skeptics called it fake, but it still got millions of views in hours. In Washington, a panel of security advisors met with the president. "We need to understand their terms before agreeing to anything," one advisor argued. "If we say yes, we might be handing over our freedom," another countered. "And if we say no, we might be handing over our lives." The president stayed silent, staring at the satellite image of the ship. It was larger than any human city, larger than some countries. If it decided to attack, there was no weapon on Earth that could stop it. In a cafe in Brazil, two friends sat by the window watching the sky. One laughed. "If this is real, they're probably here to collect taxes from us." The other didn't laugh. He remembered the tone in the alien's voice, not threatening, but urgent, like someone trying to warn a child about a fire they couldn't see. "Maybe they're not the ones we should be afraid of," he said quietly. Back in the observatory, Dr. Kim's data grew stranger. The object in space wasn't just moving toward Earth, it was adjusting its course like it was aiming. So that meant it wasn't just a rock, it was something that could steer itself. Stomach tightened. She typed a quick report and sent it to the International Science Network. But she doubted anyone would be able to do much. The alien ship was telling the truth. They were already too late to prepare. At sunset, the alien ship shifted. Not much, just a slight turn, as if it was looking in a new direction. Then, for the first time since its arrival, strange ripples of light moved across its surface. Some thought it was a sign of communication. Others feared it was a weapon. Charging. That night, small bursts of energy were detected by satellites, but no one could figure out their purpose. The next morning, the world woke up to another unexpected message. Every screen lit up again, and the silver-skinned alien's face appeared. His expression was colder now, his eyes glowing brighter. "You ask questions we cannot answer. The truth would break your minds. Trust us or die." The words sent a chill through billions. Before anyone could respond, the image changed to a view of deep space, a black void where something vast moved. its outline barely visible. It was coming closer, and then just as quickly the image vanished. Alien's voice remained for a few seconds longer, softer, but somehow more dangerous. You have little time. Choose wisely. The feed ended, and the ship returned to silence. For the first time, the laughter online began to fade. Even the jokes felt uneasy now. Something was out there. Something that made even these powerful visitors afraid, somewhere far away beyond. The edge of human vision, the dark shape in space, kept moving toward Earth. And this time, it felt like the whole planet could sense it. The days that followed were nothing like before. Laughter was gone. Memes still floated around the internet, but now they felt hollow, like nervous smiles before bad news. People had seen the shadow in space, and even though the image had been brief, it had left something cold in their hearts. The alien ship still hovered over the Pacific, silent. Its strange living surface shifting slowly like breathing skin. World leaders were now holding daily emergency meetings. The United Nations building in New York was lit all night, with diplomats going in and out as if the fate of the world was being decided inside, which in truth, it was. Some governments wanted to accept the aliens' offer immediately. Others said it was too dangerous to trust a species they knew nothing about. For all we know, they caused the threat themselves, one leader argued in a leaked recording. Maybe this is their invasion plan? Meanwhile, in space observatories, the mysterious object grew closer. It wasn't just moving in a straight line anymore, it was changing speed, weaving through empty space like a predator adjusting its hunt. Every time it shifted direction, it was toward Earth. Scientists still didn't know what it looked like clearly. Sometimes the instruments picked up a strange spike in radiation. Other times they swore they heard faint, unnatural sounds in the data deep, growling tones that didn't belong in the cold vacuum of space. On the third night after the last message, the alien ship came to life. Thousands of thin, glowing lines ran across its body, spreading like veins of light. A low hum rolled across the Pacific, deep enough to rattle windows along the coast. The sound wasn't just heard, people felt it in their bones. Then, without warning, every screen in the world flickered on. The silver-skinned alien appeared again. But now his calm face was gone. His voice was sharper, faster. Your time is almost over. We offer protection for your species. Protection, or extinction. His image shifted to show a horrifying sight, not a clear picture. But shadows moving in space, long and thin, with many jagged limbs. They seemed impossibly large, blotting out the stars as they moved. We cannot destroy them alone, the alien said. With your world under our shield, we can keep them out. Without it, his voice faded for a moment, replaced by a loud, high-pitched distortion that made millions cover their ears. The image returned to his face. Without it, you will not survive. The reaction on Earth was instant. Panic spread in the streets. In some cities, people ran to stores, grabbing food and water as if they could hide from what was coming. In others, crowds gathered on rooftops, staring at the alien ship as if waiting for it to move. Religious leaders called it the end times. Survivalists claimed they had been right all along. Even the most skeptical voices on TV spoke with unease now, but the world's governments still could not agree. In a hidden conference room, one general slammed his fist on the table. They're blackmailing us. Protection in exchange for control. That's not a deal, that's surrender, another official countered. And if we don't, we've all seen the shadows. We've all heard the tone in his voice. He's afraid, and that means we should be terrified. The debate went in circles, but the alien's deadline was getting closer. That night, something happened that ended all arguments. Several major satellites, ones used for communication and early warning systems, went completely offline. The alien ship hadn't fired anything, but scientists tracking the object from deep space reported a disturbing detail. The dark shape had just passed through the area where the satellites had been, and every single one vanished without debris. It was as if they had been erased from existence. The next morning, the alien's voice returned one more time. It wasn't on a screen this time, it was in everyone's minds. People dropped their coffee cups. Cars swerved on highways. Soldiers froze mid-step. "We will not ask again," the voice said, echoing inside their skulls. "Decide now. We leave in 1 hour." And then silence. No screens, no images. Just an alien ship watching over a planet that suddenly realized it might be standing on the edge of its final hour. The hour began ticking away. The world seemed to move faster and slower at the same time. In the United Nations Hall, diplomats shouted over each other, their voices echoing through the chamber. The president of one country demanded immediate acceptance of the aliens' offer. Another leader accused them of being cowards, insisting that surrendering now meant humanity would live under alien rule forever. Nobody could hear the other over the chaos. In the middle of this shouting, a sudden flash of blue light burst from the alien ship above the Pacific. It wasn't a beam or a weapon. It was a wave, wide and soft, that washed across the planet in seconds. No one could avoid it. It passed through mountains, cities, oceans, and through people. For a moment, everyone went still. Then the visions began. In New Delhi, a street vendor dropped his tray of food and screamed. In Chicago, a bus driver slammed the brakes, clutching his head. Across the world, humans saw flashes brief but terrifying. Towering shapes, blacker than night, moving in the distance. Rows of teeth like swords, eyes like burning coals, claws long enough to cut buildings in half. Some saw themselves running, hiding under ruins. Others saw entire cities swallowed in darkness. And then, just as suddenly, the visions were gone. People were left shaking, gasping for air. In the UN hall, the visions had silenced the shouting. Leaders sat pale and speechless. One prime minister whispered, "That's what they're keeping out." Another rubbed his eyes, still trembling. The alien's voice returned, this time echoing from every wall, every screen, every radio. "That is only a glimpse. They are almost here." Outside, fear had exploded. Crowds gathered in the streets, chanting for their governments to accept the offer. People banged on the gates of government buildings, begging for safety. Religious leaders prayed in public squares. In some cities, the panic turned violent. People fought over supplies, convinced that whatever was coming would tear the world apart. In a bunker beneath Washington, the president sat with his closest advisors. "We don't have time to argue," he said, his voice low. "Either we trust them, or we take our chances." The general who had opposed the deal earlier was silent now. He'd seen the visions, too. "If those things get here," he muttered, "there won't be a world left to control." One by one, the advisors nodded. Around the globe, other leaders were reaching the same conclusion, but the aliens' clock was still ticking. They had minutes left. The alien ship hung over the Pacific, unmoving, its living surface shimmering faintly. Then, as the final seconds approached, the decision was made. A signal went out from Earth's combined leadership. "We accept your guardianship." The answer was barely sent before the ship responded. A deep, resonating hum filled the air. From its surface, arcs of light shot outward, curving and twisting until they joined high above the planet. The sky glowed blue, and a massive, transparent barrier formed around the Earth like a shimmering dome. People stared upward, mouths open, as the alien shield sealed shut. Then the alien's voice came one final time that day. "You are now under our protection, but protection means obedience. Your wars will end, your weapons will be surrendered, you will change, or be left to them." And then he was gone. Far beyond the new shield, in the blackness of space, movement stirred. Shadows shifted, vast and silent, their shapes just barely visible against the stars. They had seen the shield form, and they were still coming. The shield shimmered in the sky like a second atmosphere, faint but visible no matter where you stood. It stretched from horizon to horizon, a glowing veil that hummed faintly in the air. People stared at it for hours, some in awe, others in fear. On the news, commentators spoke about safety, but their voices trembled. Everyone knew that protection always came with a price, and the aliens had just named it. Within a day, alien drones appeared in the skies over major cities. They were sleek, silver, and moved silently, scanning streets and buildings. In military bases, the orders were clear. Surrender all heavy weapons. Tanks, missiles, fighter jets, one by one. They were dismantled or taken away by the drones. Soldiers stood by helplessly, knowing they could do nothing to resist. For some, it felt like peace. For others, it felt like a prison forming around the planet. The alien voice returned on the second day. This time, it wasn't a public broadcast. It was directly in the minds of every leader on Earth. You are under our guardianship now. Obedience will keep you safe. Defiance will open the gate to them. The message was short, but the threat was clear. Far beyond the shield, telescopes tracked the approaching shapes. They were now close enough to see more clearly. The shadows weren't ships in the human sense. They were alive. Their bodies were long and twisted, their skin rippling with unnatural colors. Dozens of clawed limbs moved slowly, like predators swimming through a black ocean. Their heads were massive, their mouths filled with endless rows of teeth, and their eyes glowed with a hunger so sharp it felt like it pierced through the glass of the telescopes themselves. The images leaked online, and the effect was immediate. Panic returned. The earlier doubts about the alien offer vanished completely. People no longer asked if the Guardians were trustworthy. They only prayed the shield would hold. On the fourth day, the alien ship above the Pacific shifted for the first time since the shield was raised. It turned slowly, its strange living surface pulsing with brighter light. Then massive energy spikes flared along its body, shooting into the shield in ripples. The blue veil thickened, becoming more solid, as if bracing for an impact. The first creature reached the shield hours later. It was so huge that entire cities on the night side of Earth could see its silhouette against the stars. It moved closer, slow but unstoppable, until its claws touched the shimmering barrier. The air vibrated. The barrier held, but the sound that followed, a deep echoing roar that seemed to shake the core of the planet, made billions cover their ears. It was the sound of something that was not just alive but furious. The alien's voice came. One final time, broadcast to every mind on Earth. You laughed at our offer. You questioned our warning. But now you understand. The creature outside the shield roared again, and this time more shadows appeared behind it. The Guardians had kept their promise. Earth was safe. For now, but as the people looked to the skies, they knew the truth. They had traded freedom for survival. And the creatures outside weren't going away. The alien's last words hung in the air, cold and certain. You will not laugh at them.